Hey, and welcome to the second episode of Demo Disk Deepdive, a look back at the demo discs of yesteryear and the games found within. Today I'll be taking a comprehensive look at one of the more well-known demo discs on PlayStation 1. That's right, Demo 1. For those not in the know, Demo 1 discs were packaged by Sony with new consoles. For a lot of gamers, this would be the first thing they put into their shiny new PlayStation consoles, meaning they were arguably the biggest showcase for the best games on PlayStation. There were several official versions of Demo 1 released across the years. This one we're looking at today is version 5, released sometime in mid-1997, but don't quote me on that. What makes these demo discs so intriguing is that they don't just come packing demos of games, but also a bunch of tech demos and even trailers. I owned this exact disc back in the day and played it oh so much. I have so many memories of this one, so let's just dive in and have some fun reliving the memories of this demo disc. One of the first things I'm going to mention is that the music in this demo disc has stuck with me over the years. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it's super catchy or if it's just because I played this so much as a kid. But this music that's playing right now, ingrained in my brain like to such a deep extent. I'm going to let it play for a second just so you can kind of hear it properly without me talking over it. What I really liked about this demo disc as well is that the demos are quite substantial across the board. There's some really interesting demos on show in this one, and I think it's important that we take a good look at all of them today. But as we enter the disc here, you can see that there are several options. There's games, tech, movies, and VCD. We're going to be looking at the games first here because I think that's the main substantial part of this demo disc. But as you can see, there's Abe's Oddysee, Hercules, Lifeforce Tenka, Porsche Challenge, Rage Racer, Rapid Racer, Kurushi, and Overboard. So you can see there's quite a substantial selection of games here. And I should be upfront, this demo disc is the reason that we ended up buying Abe's Oddysee. Abe's Oddysee is one of my favourite games of all time, but the only reason we even know it existed was because we played it so much on this demo disc. It's going to be really fascinating to come back and experience this demo for the first time since around 1998. Because obviously once we got the full game, we never came back to this. Coming in September 1997. If you've never played Oddworld, Abe's Oddysee, this is the reason that so many people spell Odyssey wrong, because this game just, I don't even know what they were doing with that Odyssey spelling, but it is what it is. So, this demo is quite substantial. It allows you to test out the game speak, and it allows you to play a portion of the Rupture Farms section of the game. An interesting little change that you wouldn't know unless you actually played the full game is that Stay Here actually changes to Wait in the final version of this game. So that is one change between this demo and the final release. Most of the rest here though are exactly as they are in the final game.
Goodbye.
So we're going to dive into the game here. And you can see that we're going into Rupture Farms here. Rather than talk over the intro cutscene, I'm just going to let it play through and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
This is Rupture Farms. They say it's the biggest meat processing plant on Oddworld. That's me. My name is Abe. I used to work here. Well, I was really a slave, like all the others. Then I learned they were gonna turn us into lunch. That's when I knew I had to escape. So, get me out of here and help me rescue the others.
It's actually worth noting that that intro cutscene is very condensed compared to what you get in the final game, and there's also some changes in the actual CGI cutscenes themselves. Just little noticeable things like the way the meat goes down the conveyor belt instead of it dropping up and down, I think the barriers actually go sideways, which is an odd little change. Also, a lot of the text on those scrolling boards at the back there are actually different in this compared to what they would be in the final version. So in the final version as well, there's a secret at the start there behind that barrel you can drop down. In the demo here, you can't actually go down there. The area isn't implemented. All these years later, I think this game still looks stunning. Like, even as a sort of mid-generation PlayStation 1 game, this really sort of stands out stylistically to me. One thing that people will always talk about in Abe's Oddysee is kind of how the jumping and how the platforming elements are a bit stiff, but the thing is, it's like with Tomb Raider. Once you kind of learn how to play the game, once you kind of know what to expect, it gets a lot easier to maneuver around the world. It's a very precise game. I also love taking over the sligs like this and just running around. The guards here, you can use the weapon to shoot the other enemies, or you can shoot the Medokins if you really want to be a masochist about it.
Hello. Hello, follow me. Okay. Hello.
One annoying thing in this demo is that you can't talk to multiple Medokins at once. You can only attract one at a time, so you've kind of got to think about that, and it kind of makes getting all of the Medokins in this demo a bit of a pain in the backside, I'm not going to lie. Which is why we're probably not going to be going for all of them. I just wanted to kind of show how the mechanic works in this game.
Hello. Hello, follow me. Okay.
It's also worth noting that when I did my test run of this, I was convinced there was a secret underneath that platform there. So I pulled that ring and went down there and I just died. And I think that's one of the interesting things when you come back to play demos like this. This is not the full version of the game, and there are bits missing that are in the final game, which obviously are here to catch out people who are returning. Because obviously, why would you come back to play the demo when you've got the full game?
Hello. Hello, follow me. Okay.
Oops. It is kind of fun to kill the Medokins in this game, I will not lie. And you can see that there is a reduced count in this version of the game. There's normally 99 in Oddworld Abe's Oddysee, but there's only 15 in this demo. I also don't think that that floating thing is over there. I think they've actually put that here specifically for the demo, just to kind of showcase how difficult things can get. That thing stops you from using your Mudokin powers to take over the enemies.
Hello. Hello, follow me. Okay.
I don't think he wants to come with me there, I'm not going to lie.
Hello. Hello, follow me. Okay.
One fun thing to do is to try and get the Medokins to kill themselves.
Follow me. Okay.
Like that. As you can see, when we do kill them, they show up in the casualties list. The fun thing with Abe's Oddysee as well is that there's actually 2 endings, depending on how many Mudokins you save throughout the game. So it is totally worth saving them. Yep, I just died there. I couldn't see because the debris from the falling boulders there sort of blocked the screen as it was falling. So this is here to teach you how to do a running jump and time them. You gotta tap that as it turns green. Once you do that, it's safe to walk over. This is pretty nasty because what's going to happen is as soon as I try to take over one of these slogs, the other one's going to immediately shoot at the other one, and that's probably going to get that Mudokin there killed. Yeah. I like how he shot, didn't hit his target, and then just turned around like he genuinely didn't care. No point in hitting that switch since we got the Mudokin killed that we could have saved. I do like how this opening level in Abe's Oddysee is just one long tutorial, but it's kind of done in a very natural way. There's a very nice escalation to proceedings here. The player's introduced to all these different mechanics, and it's really cool that the game doesn't sort of stop to tell you how to do them. It's kind of expecting you to experiment and to figure it out for yourself, which I know in modern gaming is kind of blasphemous. A lot of modern games wouldn't allow you this kind of freedom, but I do think it's a really cool way to introduce people to the mechanics of the game. Now, I am convinced that that flock of birds there that we're supposed to activate is glitched out, because whenever we walk onto this window here, it always seems to disappear. Oh no. We'll let him run onto this screen and then we can do that. Maybe that Mudokin's a bit close. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that bird. I can't save you two, unfortunately. You're going to be working until retirement age, my friends. But as mentioned when I was talking about the intro to this game, this demo actually convinced my dad to actually buy this for us as kids, the full game, and we loved it. We loved Abe's Oddysee in our house. It was a great game, very fun game back in the day. It's very much one of those games that I have fond memories of, even just playing the demo over and over and over.
Okay.
So he'll follow me all the way down here. You are meant to go down there, but you can come over here if you want to. So I'm just going to let him run into the meat grinder here. Is he still there? He's disappeared. So this can happen sometimes with Abe's Oddysee, the original one in particular. Mudokins do kind of go back to the original position if the game doesn't really know what to do with them. I just made that infinitely harder for myself for no reason. Well, that was unexpected, wasn't it? What I love as well is that if you look at that door over there, it's telling you to come back for September 1997. And that was always really cool to me as a kid. Well, obviously I didn't mean to go splat there. Because one of the first things I did when we got the full version of this was go to that door to see what was actually there. That's the kind of power that these demos had back in the day. Like, they really built your intrigue up. And it's not the only time that... I thought I could outrun him there. That was clearly a bad idea. That's one of the things that makes Abe's Oddysee really fun as well. There's a lot of trial and error involved. You have an opportunity to experiment in rooms like this and areas where you don't have to play in a specific way, as long as you can sort of figure out how to use the mechanics to your benefit. He had a family, I tell you. Since we've seen this area, I'm just going to rush through to the next part. As mentioned, this demo is quite substantial. It is basically the whole Rupture Farms interior opening. There is a slight bit after this that you can play through, but it's actually rigged to stop the player from going too far. This is another section that I actually kind of like in this demo. As we're kind of heading down here, you can go left or right. If you come to the right here, you actually get blocked by this electric fence. But you can see again, no entry till September 1997. Another area that's just out of reach of the player. They're not able to get there. And it's basically telling you, get the full game, come back and see what's here. Spoilers, you can't actually go there until like 2/3 of the way into the game when you come back to Rupture Farms later on. We're coming towards the end of this demo here, but this is like a good final sort of area for the player because they learn how to make use of the boom bombs here. This is one of the aspects of Abe's Oddysee that I'm not such a fan of, just because I think it's a bit clunky and a bit poorly implemented. Let's see if I can get this the first time here. The game basically expects you to stand in the right spot and throw the bomb. If you try doing it while standing up, it's going to bounce off that wall and bounce back at Abe, and he's going to blow into a million pieces. Which of course you don't really want. Come on, Abe. Abe, get up. Well, that's bad. Did not expect him to wake up like that. Luckily, you can just wait for them to do their thing. Let's see if I can get it this time. That's way too close. It is, yeah, it's way too close. I think the problem with this little section here is that because you have to come all the way up and down, it's a real punishment for players because they have no way of being able to judge where they're meant to be stood to make this happen seamlessly. So if there was one aspect I would change about this, it is definitely probably this. Has that actually done the thing? And yes, you can throw yourself to your death like this if you really want to. I do want to get to the final section of this, just because I want to be able to say that we finished this. Where's this put us? Oh, okay, it's not put us that far back, to be honest. We could spend a bit more time looking for the employees. That Slig was having a bad day at the office there. He did not see me run right up to him. And I, for one, am grateful for this. Let's try. Okay, that's done it. First time as well. Excellent. I'm going to do this safely. You got to move quickly here as well, because that Slig will wake up and shoot across at you. Once we make it through this section here, we actually enter the final part of this. So how this works now is that we have to try and escape Rupture Farms, and it's introducing us to some final things here. That bomb would have just chased us endlessly. There was no way for us to avoid that. If you trip the motion sensors there, the game basically says enough. I actually forgot that those sensors were here. Best thing to do with these is just to walk and stand still. That poor Mudokon down there got ate by the scarab, which, you know, free lunch for the scarab, I guess. I think if we die from this point on, the game will actually stop. On the next screen, I think it's just littered with bombs because they didn't want people to make it through past this point. So I do think that if we see a splash screen here, I think that this is it. Yeah, definitely is. So basically, there was only one more screen to see, and it's littered with bombs. The idea being that like they didn't want you to go any further than that. But you see some nice screenshots here from the final game. One of the things I really appreciate about Abe's Oddysee is that the middle part of the game, when you're not around Rupture Farms, it's so gorgeous to look at. Some of those backdrops really pop, and some really nice places to explore. I think this was a really great showcase for Abe's Oddysee, and as mentioned, I'm a bit biased on this one because this is actually what convinced me to end up with the full version of this game as a kid. So you could argue that the demo disc really did its job very well here. But there's plenty more for us to tackle here as we make our way through the game section here. Next up is Hercules. Now, Hercules on the PS1 is somewhat fondly remembered. You can actually get this on Steam as well. It is actually on the Steam storefront and is there for you to purchase if you really want to. I never played the full version of Hercules until quite recently. It's just a game that I remember playing the demo of endlessly, but it just didn't appeal to me too much. I mean, it looks gorgeous, don't get me wrong, and I think that a lot of people have memories of just running around Thebes here. The music is so catchy, and the graphics are gorgeous. Just getting used to the controls here. I have seen people say that the literal memory of this game is just running around this level. And I think this is probably one of the better levels to showcase. It's got very catchy music, it looks very colourful, and I think it kind of captures the essence of the platforming aspects of Hercules. I should have held on that punch just a little bit longer. So we can swing off these bars. One thing that's really cool in the Hercules levels as well is, much like a few other games around this time, you can get these letters here and they give you sort of special bonuses at the end of the level. So there's a lot of incentive to go back and 100% these levels just so you can find all the collectibles. There aren't too many, but I think that this game does a good job of balancing that. Obviously, the combat is not amazing in this game. You can use your fist, you can use your sword. That guy is so irritating, and he's just going to keep running into us, so we may as well... Oh, wow. Imagine getting punched by Hercules. This also comes from the era when a lot of these moving tie-ins would show up on the PS1, and it was pretty potluck what kind of game you were going to end up with. There were some absolute bangers like this one, but then there are some movie tie-in games on PS1 that are absolutely shocking. We definitely want that health there.
Hercules.
Thank you for flashing me like that. As you can see, there's a lot of things to collect. If you're willing to explore these levels, there's definitely plenty for the player to do, not just to run through the levels. I mean, you can do that if you want. Ah, yes, I remember this boss. So, I think this boss is pretty weak. I don't know if I would have put this boss in a demo, just because literally all you're doing is grabbing this boulder and throwing it up the stairs here. And that's all you're really doing. I think once we collect that lightning bolt there, the demo's going to end. There is a lot more to this level when you play the full final game. Giving this guy a headache here. Probably 2 more, I think. Again though, this is another great looking PS1 game. One of the things with Hercules here is that it looks very much like the movie it's based on, which is quite an achievement when you consider that we're in the middle of the 90s here and a lot of PlayStation 1 games don't look like what they're supposed to look like. So the fact that they went for this style, I think, is really to be applauded. They really captured the essence of the movie with this graphic style. You can see there's a wall there hastily put at the end of that section there. So you can't just go through, and this is coming out in autumn 1997. Put it in your calendar, guys. Make sure you buy it. Another game that I remember playing quite a lot of, but I never ended up buying the full game to that one, interestingly. Probably because the Hercules craze came and went so quickly back in the day. I remember this demo, but I don't remember good things about this demo. I remember this... So this is a first-person shooter on the PS1, and you'll see what I mean when we start playing it. It's not particularly great, and it kind of shows the shortcomings of a lot of these 3D shooters that tried to appear on the PS1, namely that the control scheme is just not here for it. And it's interesting, when I was doing research for this demo disc, just to find out when it was made and such, a lot of people have spoken about how they did not like this demo, and how they found it clunky, and how they found it a bit, you know, hard to access. It also doesn't help that that kind of looks like it was splashed together in like 5 minutes in Paint. I'm not gonna lie. But we'll give it a fair chance. Visually, it's a very interesting game, but I think the problem is once you kind of get to the combat here, it just kind of falls apart because you kind of have to look up and down to sort of target the enemies, and the enemies there have no problem running around me and taking pot shots at me, so it's a bit of a pain, to be honest, dealing with some of the enemies in this. I would always play this one more out of curiosity. I think we can change weapons and such. Oh, okay, so we're looking up and down here. Like I said, the controls in this one are pretty jank. Even looking at the controls before we came in doesn't help you. because as soon as the enemy starts shooting at you, like this enemy for example, I don't know like what it's packing, but like it took quite a lot of effort to take him down. There's definitely nothing wrong with the way this game looks. Like, it's definitely got a style and a visual flair to it. Oh, I just died. That's unfortunate. And as obviously when you die, it just boots you back into the demo menu. So the game doesn't even want you to hang around all that much, which, yeah, I'll give this another try. I feel like that first playthrough was a bit hampered by me struggling with the controls a bit, and I'm hoping that maybe a second playthrough I can maybe master this a bit. This is always the danger when you put a game like this on a demo disc. It's always going to potentially split people who may have been interested, and then they play it and they see it's a bit janky and they're like, this one ain't for me. It's also very dark, so on a CRT TV, I can't imagine that this would feel any better to play. Let's go this way this time. Oh, okay, there's just more cannons this way. Excellent. Maybe I'm missing a trick with this game or something, but the combat in this is just not that exciting. Especially because my dude here is turning like the Titanic, and the enemies can move clearly faster than me. So I'm not even able to hit him because they're sidestepping and strafing, and I'm guessing the game wants me to strafe as well, but like I have to look down to shoot him and it's really annoying. Yeah, I can remember why I didn't like this demo, why I kind of feared when I saw that game in the list on this demo disc. It looks great, it has an interesting sound, and you know, it's the soundtrack's fine, but it's a bit of a rough one, this one, I'm afraid, for me. Oh, you can change weapons, but it doesn't really seem to do anything. What are we meant to do here? I don't understand. What are we actually meant to do here? Is there like a switch or something I'm not seeing? We're just getting shot at by this turret, and I honestly have no idea. I'm crouching on the floor here. I don't even know what that timer does. Like, the game's not telling me what that timer does, and you know what? I think I remember why I don't like that one. Yeah, if you're a fan of that one, good for you, but I just had flashbacks to why I don't think I ever played the full version of that game, and probably will never get round to it. That was Lifeforce Tenka, and it drained the life force right out of me there, so good for it, I guess. So the next game is actually pretty interesting, because in the first episode of this Demo Disk Deep Dive, we actually played a version of Porsche Challenge that was a lot earlier than this one. So this is a much more polished demo, and this is the one that I kind of remember playing for Porsche Challenge, because it has the music, it has a bit more humour to it. It just feels like a much better experience.
Hey, come on, floaty! Pedal to the metal!
Excellent. Definitely remember this one. So I remember being wowed by this back in the day. This all seemed so cool to me as a kid, and you have to put context on that. Back in 97, 98 when I was playing this, just having this kind of open world feeling experience in 3D was so great, and I think that's why games like Driver would ultimately do really well on PlayStation, because they kind of took this feeling and took it to the next level. Just made the checkpoint there. You can definitely see though there's a lot more polish that's gone into this version of this demo than into the first version. The first version literally was just what felt like a very early build of the game. It lacked all of the charm of this, and I dig this. This is really fun and really cool to come back and experience. Handling's a bit rubbish, but you know. Oh cool, we made a lap here, that's good. Not sure if the demo disc just ended that demo early or if I hit a button or something, but I think we got a nice flavour for what Porsche Challenge was there. And especially considering that we've got Rage Racer here, which I've never heard of, not going to lie. And I have no memories of this one, but it's clearly here. And from what I can tell, it's somewhat of a Ridge Racer inspired driving game. I don't know. Porsche Challenge there was really kind of fun to go back to. So going from one racing game to another here is going to be pretty interesting. We can't choose any other course but this one. Can't choose any other car but this one.
Racers, start your engines and let's get it on. Three, 2, 1, go! The race is on. Show 'em what you've got. Okay.
I think it is possible to win this, although we are only given one lap to do this in. Again, like, really kind of like the style of this one. Really cool, really fun. Did not mean to hit the curve there like that. Definitely a Ridge Racer inspired one, this one. Let's see how far up the rankings I can get here. A lot of variety on show with the locales here. Not a fan of the handling though, the turning is a bit weird in these kind of games. We made it all the way up to 8th here. This one in front though seems to have a jet rocket in his trunk because he's like off like a rocket there. Oh wow, oh god, okay. Did not expect to take that corner so aggressively. You saw nothing, guys.
Okay, it's the last stretch. Keep it up.
Out the way. Don't rear end me like that.
Too bad. You blew it. Better luck next time. Game over.
Thanks, random voiceover lady. I mean, like I said, if you like your Ridge Racer inspired games, this one is for you, I guess. But for me, it's not my type of racing game. I'm more into Gran Turismo and Forza type of games. So I'm not really a fan of when the car sort of turns on a hairpin in corners, because you end up in walls a lot quicker. I do remember Rapid Racer. I have very weird memories of this one, because I used to love this. But again, never got around to actually playing the full game. So another racing game here. It kind of shows you the sort of games that were coming out around this time. A lot of racing games showing up on the PS1, which would only get more intense as the console's lifespan kind of continued, and even more racing games would turn up, even like cartoonish ones like Crash Team Racing and all that. Oh my, okay, right, okay. So, what we're going to discuss here is that the handling on this thing is pretty atrocious. Like, this thing is hitting the water and then it is like bouncing off the water. It's trying to go everywhere. Okay, so those things are little boost tokens. It's probably in my best interest to get as many of those as we can. Goodness me. So you can see me sort of jumping out of the water at points and sort of smacking into it and then turning abruptly. That's because when you kind of land on like a bit of water that's not flat, the game tries to shove you to the side. Oh my. That's why I'm kind of bouncing around like an idiot here. At least we're making the checkpoints here. Another good example of a nice looking PlayStation 1 game. For some reason this tune has always stuck in my head. We definitely need to be getting more of these boosts. I don't think we're going to get to the end of this race, but we may be able to trigger another checkpoint if we're really lucky. Where's the checkpoint? Oh my gosh, will you get from behind me? This boat behind me is like trying to shove me so hard. Okay, you know what? We're going to try one more here. I'm determined we're going to get at least one lap in here. Now that I know what to expect here. Really could have done with the boost there. You've got to be so aggressive in this game. You've got to really sort of power through the game when it's pushing back against you. A lot of the time it's trying to push you in certain directions. Like that, for example. Oh no, that's terrible. We were doing so well there as well. Oh no, oh no. We're going every way but forward here. That was unfortunate. We were doing so well there, and then my boat decided, what if we don't land in the water correctly? We're gonna need as many boosts as we can get here. I think we're gonna be needing the boosts here to successfully get a lap out of this. I was doing so well as well. I don't know. I reckon you could probably get to first if you were able to not bounce around and flop around like a Magikarp there. I think you could probably get to first. Are we gonna make it? We did. Well, we got the lap in that I wanted, and that's all I care about really. We're up to 9th as well. Am I going to get to this next checkpoint? That's really the question on my mind here. I don't know if we're going to make it. No, I don't think we are. Oh, we have! Again, just by the scrape of my fingertips. And we're 7th. Okay. Now we're 9th. Okay. So I say we're 7th and then we lose it immediately. So this is where I completely bottomed out in the first lap. I completely just rammed against that, and see, that time we just get straight through. We are definitely not making this next checkpoint. It's a fun little game in the minute or so that you get to play it, but the way that you bounce off of that water was just a bit much. Also note, 3 to 5 players. That's such a weird number, 5. I know that the multi-tab adds 3 ports in, technically meaning there's more people that can play on this than on the N64, but 5 friends? Like, that's an odd number to definitely put in your game for sure. But it's fun. So, Kurushi. We have to talk about Kurushi. Kurushi is one of those games that I played so much, and then I never heard about it for years. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, where's this game go? Like, what happened to this? Like, why can't you buy it? Turns out they just renamed it. So this is a Sony developed game, and they actually changed its name to Intelligent Cube. I think IQ or something like that. And Kurushi Intelligent Cube, I'll be calling it Kurushi for the rest of this because it'll get too confusing if I have to keep bouncing between names, is a good example of when a game changes its name and the demo does a good job of imprinting on you, and then you kind of lose track of it because you can't find it. We couldn't find this as kids in the shop when I asked my parents to go and get it for me. But the premise here is pretty simple. You've got to clear the stages here. The green blocks can be triggered to hit all the squares around them like that. So it hits 9 squares around the square that you started on. Don't hit the black squares. If you hit the black squares, bad things will happen. If you get it perfect like that and don't mess up, you can get an extra stage added. If you are silly and you don't look after yourself, you can accidentally lose stages and then you'll have less time to do all this. It's a very simple puzzle game and it gets very intense the further you kind of move along in it. If you're wondering what that 5-4 is, by the way, that is kind of the minimum to get like the highest score. If you can get it within that, you get like a big points bonus. The final version of this has some weird music that plays over this as well. When I've played it over the years, it's one of those things that I never really understood the choices. This game has some very weird choices, and I get why. Because when they were making this, I can imagine they were like, how do we jazz this up for the PlayStation generation? So you can see once you've completed the set of 3, the new puzzle will emerge here. Excellent. It's a very interesting concept for a game. It's very out there as well for PlayStation 1, because PlayStation 1 was kind of for the Crashes and the Tomb Raiders and the Spyros and all of those like sexy games, and then you've got this puzzle game that comes from left field, and like I said earlier, there were interesting choices made in the final game. Oh no, I hit a black square there. Oh, that's not good. So you can see that I didn't get the perfect that time. It doesn't really matter if you hit the black squares too much. Obviously, if you start hitting them too much, you lose stages behind you. So it's not a good idea to do it too much. But every now and then, you can kind of get away with hitting 1 or 2. And the reason I'm talking quite a lot over this one is because other than the sound effects of the blocks kind of moving forward, there's really not much else going on in presentation here. Really, this is one of those where like the gameplay is expected to kind of showcase the game itself. But this is one of those games as well where when you start playing it, you kind of just get sucked into its gameplay loop. It is kind of one of those in your head games, and I do like it. I think even now, like the concept here is pretty fun, and the mechanics are so easy to kind of understand. Ooh, so what happened there? The cube actually crushed me, and what that means is I've got to do it again. So I kind of messed up there. But I don't think it's unfair to say this is definitely not the sexiest game on PlayStation 1. Gameplay wise, very sound. If you're into your puzzle games, like this is a good giggle, I think. Kind of messed myself up there because I have to kind of wait for everything to get to the back. I think I did pretty well there with all of those puzzles. I think we've got one more round here and then we get booted to a bigger stage. Gotta be careful here. Don't want to get crushed by the blocks here as they're moving forward. You can see as well we've reached the end of the stage, so there is kind of a time pressure and there's a space pressure in this one to make sure you don't mess it up. Probably should have gone for that one first. It's a very chill and relaxing game, this one. It's definitely one to play if you just want to kind of lose yourself in something that's a bit different. And I've never really finished the full game, but I could definitely see myself losing a few hours to this if you kind of allow yourself to. I think this is the final one on this run of levels. I think we're actually going to come in under the score here. Yeah, we are. By 1, we've actually come in under the score for the genius, which is pretty cool. There you go. I got true genius. First time anyone's ever said that to me in my lifetime. And you can see that the number of stacks that you have at the end is totaled up and gives you a nice little bonus to your score. And that's really the crux of this demo. There is a second stage that you can play through where things get a bit more complicated, and I will show that very quickly here. I don't think there's much point in showing it though, because I feel like we've seen a good slice of the gameplay here, but I just wanted to kind of show you that yes, things do get a lot more difficult, and if you do mess up like I'm trying to do here, you fall off the edge and the game ends. It's pretty crazy that you just kind of fall into the abyss and that's the end. You get a total score and it's a very replayable demo. It's one of the more replayable ones on here for sure. I have an IQ of 58. Well, definitely not a genius now. The game's taking that one completely back off me. Again though, this is one of those games that was penning itself out for the end of 1997, so it does place this demo pretty nicely in the middle of 1997 at least. Did you like Kurushi? Would you play Kurushi? I definitely wouldn't mind seeing a remake of Kurushi, or Intelligence Cube as it would eventually become called. But now we're going to dive into Overboard. An interesting fact about Overboard, which is not relevant to this demo, but this demo is going to take a bit of time to load up, so figured we'd fill the time. This was actually the first PlayStation 1 game I bought for my collection. I actually bought it off an acquaintance who was selling the PS1 games, and they actually sold it to me for very cheap. And I remember being like, I've never owned Overboard, I'd love to own a physical copy of it. And once I got it, I had that kind of nostalgia rush, and that's kind of when I started buying PlayStation 1 games again. And I have a nice little collection of them physically. I also have a bunch of them acquired through other means, but we won't talk about that. So Overboard is a very early take on a 3D-esque pirate game. I have to say that it's a very unique game. in the sense that you have to get from the start to the end of a level, collecting supplies, fighting enemies. The controls are an acquired taste, and it definitely has a hard time figuring out how to make all of its little mechanics work, and that kind of encroaches on some of the aspects of the game where you'd really want it to excel. As you can see here, once you kind of find yourself in the way of a hazard, you really have a bit of a time trying to get back out. You also want to make sure you're avoiding the fire there. So we're going to get ambushed by some boats here. The combat in this game is also something that I feel isn't particularly great. I think that in theory it's kind of a nice idea. I think it works on paper, but I think the fact is that the game really doesn't play well with these controls. Oh look, we're on fire. Excellent. You can see people jumping off my ship. If you want to collect those guys back up, you do get some health back. You can definitely tell though why this game would excel in this period of time. This is one of those games that I think... Ooh, hello. Big massive explosion there. Are you shooting missiles at me? That's not very time appropriate, is it? You also get these flying enemies that are just really annoying. You need to use the rockets that we collected to shoot up into the sky and get rid of them. You can see I'm trying to get away from this thing just while I'm trying to work out the controls here. Visually, there's nothing wrong with this game. In fact, I'd argue this is a very pretty looking game. It's definitely got better water than that Rapid Races earlier on, for sure. Although that wasn't really difficult considering how poor the water in that game kind of looked and felt. But if you use the rockets there, as you can see, you can hit the ships above us. And they do drop hazards, so it is worth trying to not get in the way of those. What's up here? I think we were meant to shoot this from the other side of that wall. Yeah, I think I've come on the wrong side here, which makes you wonder why they even let you come in here. So we're going to need to shoot this thing here. There we go. Ahoy, mateys. And again, we're being ambushed, but this time we're being ambushed by all kinds of things. And of course, we did not last long because I didn't think I was able to find any health there. There's certainly a novelty to this game. But this is definitely a game that I think wouldn't survive in the modern era at all. I think, especially with these controls as they are, they do not translate well to modern gaming. Does mean, however, we get some nice shots of us just racing through the water here, which I'm not going to complain about. This game's oh, did I really just catch that? Self-inflicted damage or what? I'm trying to draw this enemy over here, maybe to fight everything over here away from the crowd, although the crowd did just come over to me, so, you know, I don't know if... There is a frustration to this game. Excellent. We want to grab that guy because I think we're going to be needing this health. Oh my god, can I hit the thing, please? I think my patience with this game is beginning to wear ever so slightly thin. Can we go in this cave? That's not janky to get into at all. Having not really played the final game, I don't know if any of this actually gets improved on. You would definitely hope so. This is not the warm welcoming I was kind of hoping for game, I have to say. Are we meant to go down there, or is this the end of a level? It's not really explaining to me very well what I'm meant to do here. Let's go back up here. Did I miss something in here? Oh good, more enemies to shoot at me. I don't really understand what the point of this area is, to be honest. We're also shooting birds, or parrots, which, you know, kind of feels a bit mean. That guy also just launched into the side there, which is pretty hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so Overboard again, it's one of those acquired taste games. You can definitely see why it's on here. It looks great for a game from this period, and if you were trying to like sell your PlayStation platform to potential gamers, this is one of the games you definitely want to show off. Is there something I'm meant to be hitting here? I'm not sure at this point. Is that the end of the level? I don't even know at this point. And we're on fire. Excellent. Well, if that was the end of the level, I don't know. I really don't know. Overboard is what Overboard is. It's a game like I said, I've only ever really played this demo over the years, and it's never really impressed me. But if you like Overboard, well done. And featuring a cabin plus cabin loads more. Oof. Well, given that they've never really gone back to this series, I have to assume that this did not do as well as they may have wanted it to. 20 sprawling levels, 10 head-to-head arenas. Fair enough. It is what it is. It's a fun little game. Fourth quarter of 1997. And that's all you're going to get for the playable demos in this demo disc. As mentioned, there are various versions of this disc, and across the various versions there are different games to play. So when I get my hands on those other discs, we'll be taking a look at what's on those. It's not just games though that make up Demo 1. No, there's actually some trailers and some tech demos thrown in for good measure. And I think one of these tech demos everyone remembers the Dino tech demo, and here it is in all of its glory on the Demo 1 disc. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people just took real pleasure in playing around with this. It looks great for a PlayStation 1 application, and it really just kind of showed off like how silly the console could be. So here you can see we've got our lovely T-Rex here. You can do all kinds of things with him. You can rotate the camera around him. You can take a good look at him. You can play with his jaw. You can get him to walk upside down. These tech demos weren't really games as such. They're just more technical showpieces for the 3D capabilities of the PlayStation. It's really fun though, and like I said, a lot of people remember this tech demo. A lot of people will bring it up when you talk about the Demo 1 discs, and me personally, I used to just stick this on and just faff around for like 5-10 minutes. It's just one of those things that you had to be there to kind of understand. And yes, you get to see dino butts. Avert your eyes, Christians. But yes, this dinosaur is walking upside down and he's having a good old time. You wouldn't really get this kind of thing in the modern gaming scene. This kind of thing is just sort of here, I think, just to fill space and to also just show off that yes, our console can do this kind of thing. It's also got some really menacing music, which is pretty fun. But this isn't the only tech demo on here. There is actually the often forgotten, but still very much there, Mantis demo. This one, for me, isn't as fun to play around with, but it is arguably a bit more visually pleasing. If you kind of wanted this on in the background, like on your TV, just to sort of, you know, have it on the background, this is the one you'd probably put on, because you actually get some nice colours here. You get to see a lot of fish swimming around. It's a very interesting thing. And like I mentioned, I don't really hear people bring the Mantis demo up all that much. It is pretty cool that they put these on here. They didn't have to. And ultimately, they don't really sell the console. They don't sell a service. They're just really here as content. And it's fascinating content because ultimately it does give you a window into how they were trying to sell the PlayStation as a platform and how they wanted to showcase its capabilities. I am convinced that some of those fish are just sort of popping in off screen in front of us. Very cool, very chill, and very much of its time. You wouldn't see these in any other real capacity outside of these demo discs. But what we're going to do now, we're going to quickly dive over to the video section. We have Rocco McQueen and we have a Soul Blade demo. These are videos, so unfortunately you don't actually get to play these. And what's interesting with the Soul Blade one is it's basically the intro cutscene with interspliced footage to sort of sell up the game. Soul Blade's one of my favourite PS1 games. It is curious to me that like they chose to just put a trailer on here and not put an actual demo. It's interesting because Tekken actually shows up in the Demo 1 series quite a lot. Because you can play Tekken 1 and Tekken 3. I think Tekken 2 is on one of them as well. So the Tekken series gets a lot of representation on here. You would have thought they would have put this on. And for those who don't know, Soul Blade is the precursor to Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur was a big deal at one point until it kind of isn't. It's kind of disappeared from modern fighting scene, which is pretty disappointing, but yeah, you can see not even much of a video. It's just kind of a very small trailer, and it's not even a very good trailer in my opinion, because it's not even the full opening cutscene, which I think would have been really cool to put in here, but I digress. Now, this game I have never played, and I've never seen it in the wild. But I was obsessed with this as a kid because it looked so cool. The idea of playing as a firefighter. I've never played this, like I mentioned. It's one of those games that I remember seeing the footage of on this demo disc. And I always wanted to see more of it. And I don't think I've ever seen anything of it. It looks very quirky, and it's one of those games I think that if you're a kid, you would eat this up whole. Like, this is the kind of higher octane 3D action that the PlayStation was just selling itself off of. Now, given that I've never heard of Rocco McQueen or this game, and I've never seen it in the wild, I'm gonna guess that it didn't do well. In fact, give me a second. I've just pulled up the Wikipedia page for this game. Apparently it's got a 57% overall ranking on Game Rankings. It got a 2 out of 10 on CNET. The other scores are more middling, middle of the road, like 5 out of 10, but Game Informer gave it a 3 out of 10. So yeah, this game did not do well in the end. And interestingly, it took until the end of 1998 for this to show up in the US. So if you saw this trailer and you were like, I want this, well, you had to wait over a year to get your hands on it. So I feel like they kind of misunderstood the assignment there, but hey. So the final thing we're going to talk about here is the VCD. It's basically just a visualization for music on the PlayStation 1. It just does what the Windows Media Player used to do and put a pattern on it. I can't really show it off here, unfortunately, without, inflicting the copyright gods, but you'll get an idea of what it is anyway. So let me know what you thought of Demo 1. Did you ever have this disc? Did you ever enjoy it? What games did you enjoy playing on this? Did you ever get convinced to buy the full games from Demo 1 from this demo disc? Let me know in the comments what your experiences of this are, and thank you so much for watching.